The Smith family lived in a peaceful suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where front lawns were perfectly trimmed, children rode their bikes in the street, and the mailboxes stood in neat rows at the edge of every driveway. For years, John and Emily Smith had taken pride in keeping their home tidy and welcoming. Their children, Anna and Ethan, often helped with yard work, and the family worked hard to make their house a warm place for friends and neighbors. But one summer, a seemingly small change sparked a conflict that would grow larger than they ever imagined: the color of their mailbox. Their old mailbox had been standing for more than 15 years. Rust had begun to eat at the edges, the paint was peeling, and every time the postman opened it, the hinges groaned loudly. One afternoon, Emily told John, "This old thing is embarrassing. It makes the whole front of our house look neglected." John agreed. So, on a bright Saturday morning, the family went to a hardware store, picked out a fresh can of navy blue paint, and decided to give the mailbox a makeover. The children even helped, painting little stars on the side for fun. When they were finished, the mailbox looked cheerful and welcoming. For the Smiths, it wasn't just about paint. It was about family bonding and improving their home. But not everyone saw it that way. 2 days later, Emily found a note taped to the front door. It was from the HOA, written in stiff language. "Your mailbox is in violation of community regulations. All mailboxes must be painted in standard approved shade number 14, forest green. Please correct this violation within 7 days or face a fine of $250. Emily read it twice in disbelief. She had never heard of a standard shade number 14. She called John, who shook his head and said, "Are they serious? It's just a mailbox." First, they laughed. But when another letter arrived, this time marked final notice, the laughter turned to frustration. The HOA claimed that the navy blue mailbox distracted from community uniformity. Emily argued, "Distracted? It looks clean and beautiful. Our old one was rusted and broken. Isn't improvement better than uniformity?" But the HOA board seemed unmoved. The Smiths were ordered to repaint or replace the mailbox in the exact shade required by the HOA's guidelines, a rule buried deep in the community handbook, which most residents had never even read. The issue might have ended there if John had simply repainted the box green. But something inside him refused to give in. He told Emily, "This isn't about paint anymore. This is about control. If they can dictate the color of our mailbox, what's next? The flowers in our garden? The curtains in our windows?" Emily agreed, and they decided not to repaint. Instead, they wrote a polite but firm letter to the HOA, stating that their mailbox was functional, well-maintained, and not offensive. They argued that nowhere in the rules did it say navy blue was banned. That's when the fines started. The HOA began charging the Smiths $50 for each week they failed to comply. Soon, the fines piled up to $500. John went to the HOA meeting to plead his case. Standing before the board, he explained, "This is a mailbox. My children helped paint it. It doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't lower property values. Why are you punishing us?" But the HOA president, Karen Thompson, coldly replied, "Rules are rules. If we make an exception for you, everyone will start painting their mailboxes whatever color they want. We can't have chaos." Neighbors began to take sides. Some whispered, "The Smiths should just repaint and get it over with." But many others supported them, saying the mailbox looked much better than before. A petition started circulating, with dozens of signatures asking the HOA to loosen its grip on petty regulations. Still, the board remained unmoved. The fines increased to $1,000 and then $1,500. The breaking point came when the HOA sent a notice threatening to place a lien on the Smiths' home if the fines went unpaid. That was too much. John and Emily sought legal advice, and to their surprise, the lawyer told them that HOA rules about mailboxes had already been challenged in other states. Courts often sided with homeowners if the rules were overly vague, unreasonable, or inconsistently enforced. Encouraged, the Smiths prepared to fight back. The story quickly caught the attention of local media. A reporter ran a headline, "Family fined $1,500 over mailbox color." The article included a picture of Anna and Ethan proudly standing next to their painted blue mailbox with little stars. The public response was overwhelming. Readers flooded the HOA office with angry emails, criticizing them for bullying a family over something so trivial. On social media, the story went viral. People shared their own HOA horror stories, and the Smiths became a symbol of resistance against unfair rules. As pressure mounted, the HOA board tried to defend themselves, claiming uniformity was necessary to preserve property values. But real estate experts interviewed on the news disagreed, saying that a painted mailbox had no impact on home prices. The HOA began to look less like protectors of the neighborhood and more like villains. Even some board members privately admitted the fight had gone too far. Finally, the Smiths received a letter from the HOA. The fines were dropped, and the mailbox could remain navy blue. The victory felt sweet, but it had come at a cost. Months of stress, angry letters, and sleepless nights weighed heavily on the family. Still, John and Emily knew they had stood up for something bigger than paint. They had shown their children that it was important to push back against unfair rules, even when it was difficult. On a warm Saturday morning, the Smiths hosted a small gathering in their front yard. Neighbors brought snacks, children played, and everyone admired the famous blue mailbox. John raised a toast and said, "This isn't just about a mailbox. It's about community. It's about standing up for what's right." The crowd cheered, and for the first time in months, the neighborhood felt united. The story of the Smiths' mailbox spread far beyond their street. Other homeowners across the country took inspiration, challenging their HOAs over similar petty rules. The Smiths even received letters of thanks from strangers who said, "Because of you, I finally had the courage to stand up to my HOA." For John and Emily, that was the greatest reward of all. Years later, the blue mailbox still stood proudly at the edge of their driveway, a quiet reminder of the battle they had fought. Every time the children saw it, they remembered not just a family project, but a lesson in courage and resilience. For the Smiths, the mailbox had become more than metal and paint. It had become a symbol of freedom, family, and the simple right to make a home their own.